It is Wednesday, July 10th, 2019, 12:07 p.m. I think I got my days correct today, so that's a good thing. Continued earthquake activity on the increase up here, or I should say down there in Southern California. A couple, it looks like a 4.1 popped up further north of our area that we're watching there in Southern California, the aftershock area. This area here is kind of more towards the Coso volcanic range right there, or volcanic field. So this activity appears to, at least recently, been migrating towards the northwest as well. Let me show you guys a little map here, what I'm talking about. Bring this up here and make this just a tad bit wider here for you guys. Here's the most recent map of earthquakes in California and Nevada. You can see the most recent earthquakes being in a red square. Now the most recent ones we've seen here on the data stations coming in are these squares that are kind of towards the north. Let me just zoom in a little bit here and give you guys a better idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, it's just a little bit small on my end. Let's try that. There we go. Okay, so yeah, the 4.1, they just had kind of shooting towards the northwest even further. I mean, this whole area here is, of course, been having aftershock activity, but we're starting to see some renewed migration towards the north here. Let's see if I can bring this up just a little bit and show you guys the magnitude as well. Okay, hold on a second here. So very interesting activity nonetheless here. Let me bring that back up. There we go. And there's also a new statement from the USGS volcano folks indicating that there's no threat to this volcanic system here. Let's see if I can find that 4.1 that just popped off. There's so many that are coming up right now. There's a 4.1 right down here in the middle. I'm not going to click on that, but I got this fly in here that just won't get out. You guys might be able to hear him buzzing around. The microphone might pick him up, but it's kind of bugging me. I'm gonna get him. But so the red squares up here, you guys see those, folks? 4.1, along with some aftershock activity continuing, and this is all kind of migrating once again in a continued fashion towards the northwest area. There's other fault systems that this thing is kind of trailing towards. Of course, it is within the volcanic Coso volcanic field right now, and that's where we're seeing this 4.1 along with quite a few 2s in there as well. 8,693 earthquakes total on this map. Most of that activity, in fact all of that activity, occurring within the 6.4 earthquake that happened here a few days ago in that time frame. So climbing up towards 9,000 earthquakes. Probably will hit that number before the day ends. A little bit better map here from the USGS shows the fault systems here, and I can actually go in and show you guys the area where this is kind of moving towards. Hold on a second here. Tell you what, I didn't get much sleep after working overnights. I did not get much sleep at all. I'm not even for sure if they're updating all of their quakes here. The most recent ones, it looks like they are. Of course, with the red circles indicating here. But the cluster down here where that kind of T area is right there where the 7.1 and the 6.4 hit, along with thousands of earthquakes there, kind of down toward the south. This renewed activity is up here towards the north. It kind of looks like it skips a little bit, right? It skips a little region. And let's see here what's going on. This map decided to freeze up for some reason. Does it not want me to show the faults? Hold on. Yeah, I really don't think the USGS is updating all the earthquakes here. This thing just literally froze up on me here. Let me see if I can get this to refresh real quick. I'll put on this other map. You guys can see a lot of red in there, right? A tremendous amount of red squares, and that's just within the last hour. This other map that I'm trying to refresh now does not show all that renewed activity. Let me try it one more time and refresh it. Well, I just can't get it to go here. Let me try a couple different things here, folks. Hold on a second here. Still going to show you guys the article that the Coastal Volcanic Field just put out. I'm going to do that here in just a second, but I wanted to bring up a couple different fault systems that this migration is kind of heading towards. So I'm going to try a new browser window here real quick. Copy that. Bring this back down here. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that. That was really, really weird. Okay, let's see if this map will work properly this time. Like I say, just some weird stuff going on recently. Okay, just a little bit here. See, there's not a whole lot of red circles down there in that main swarming area, kind of down there towards the all the activity where the cluster is. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know if they're updating all of it or not. Of course, you know what? This is 2.5 and above. That's right. So that's why it's not showing it. But the 2.5 and above is kind of stretching up here towards the north, towards the Coso volcanic range. It's actually within that area right now. And that's where we're seeing that 4.1 pop off, along with some other activity, some smaller activity too. Let's see here. So down here, right, we got the Little Lake fault zone down there where all the earthquake activity is taking place. It kind of skips and jumps a little bit and moves up past, kind of into a mountain range up there, which is the volcanic the Coso volcanic field. Man, I really wish I could drive down there today, but I just can't. A little ways down there. But if you look, if we kind of like look around here, there's not a whole lot of fault systems up here where this new activity is taking place. And these aren't really minor either. Like I said, there's a 4.1 and a couple other smaller quakes, but this is 2.5 and above, so we're seeing an increase in magnitude, and also up here towards the north. Here's the Coso range, right? 2.5 and above is being recorded within that range, and I don't see any other fault systems up through this area. Now I know this is a lot of older volcanic activity down there, but I'm not seeing any specific fault sections that this may be taking place on. Here's the airport. There's another earthquake that just popped up there in the red. Airport Lake Fault Zone. That's one. Let's see what we got up here by, what's that, Cartago? Owens Valley Fault Zone, 1872 rupture. Let's check that out, because that's kind of creeping up there a little bit. I'm here on my side. I'm going to look that up real quick. Owens Valley Fault Zone. Fault Zone. So, reading an article here on my side from the USGS folks. If I can get to work, something weird's going on here with all my electronic equipment today. Oh man, it's like one huge whoa. So it was 1872 earthquake. Hold on. I'm trying to find something that I can actually read off of and not just a huge PDF file. Okay, so it looks like here, yeah, within this fault system here, folks, this is a really interesting article, so I'm going to go ahead and read it here while this map is showing here. Just let's see. So this is coming from Wikipedia. The 1872 Lone Pine earthquake, it's called the Lone Pine earthquake, struck on March 26 at 2:30 local time with an estimated magnitude of 7.4 to 7.9, and in an extreme category. Its epicenter was near Lone Pine, California, in Owens Valley. Okay, Owens Valley is right there. The Owens Valley Fault System is right there as well. It was one of the largest earthquakes to hit California in recorded history, and was similar in size to the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. Type oblique slip is the type of fault system out there. The earthquake back then resulted from sudden vertical movement of 15 to 20 feet and right lateral movement of 35 to 40 feet on the Lone Pine Fault and part of the Owens Valley Fault. Let's see what this other fault system is just up here a little bit. Let's see. So that's still the rupture section up there. So what I was talking about, folks, in a couple of my other videos is all this migration and movement, and headed in certain directions. You know, it could ultimately tap into some other fault systems that have been building up pressure, like this area right here where the Owens Valley Fault system is 1872. That was 100 and wow, like a long time ago. I'm not even gonna do the math on that, but there was definitely I'm sure pressure been building up on that fault system ever since that 1872 earthquake. Let's see here. The quake was felt strongly as far away as Sacramento. So it just goes on and on about it. That's kind of new because I don't remember reading up on that earthquake, but the 1872 Lone Pine earthquake. So yeah, that's interesting to see how further north this activity continues, because it's kind of heading into that direction, folks. I mean, let's back out this scale a little bit here so you guys can see a little bit bigger picture of the activity. I need to go one more. So, okay, hold on. What is this scale? Let me check it real quick. Okay, scale is on 5 miles. So, you look at that and just get a little rough estimate here. Let me make that just a tad bit smaller so you guys can see. 5 miles. We're looking at probably 35 to 40 miles of activity occurring lengthways or vertically. Of course, we got that little section down there by Ridgecrest, which is seems to be like on the decline there. No further earthquakes there, at least in that region, as far as 2.5 and above goes. Because once again, this is 2.5 and above. This is not showing anything under it, and there's definitely a lot under the 2.5 magnitude. But we're getting some moderate activity just further north, and it's going to be interesting to see how this affects some other fault systems out there. What's this other fault right over here where we're getting a bunch of quakes too? Ah, man, it's just really very sensitive. Ash Hill Fault. Okay, there's just so many. Like I say, Southern California is a very complex system of super faults everywhere. I mean, there's just I always call it like the spiderweb fault system down there. There's so many fractures and areas where the ground is just being crunched and stretched and built up pressure. Ash Hill Fault. Let me see. I'm looking on my side, folks. Ash Hill Fault. Let's see what it says about this. There's a lot of publications on it. See if there's been any recent earthquakes out there. These new data indicate that the Ash Hill Fault has produced multiple M6.5 to 7 earthquakes during the Holocene. Okay, so like I say, any of these one specific fault systems down here that have been building up pressure are capable of, you know, pretty significant size earthquakes, folks. And like I say, it's, you know, I don't know what the possibility is of these kind of rupturing towards other faults and then possibly unzipping, you know, a completely separate fault, but it would kind of make sense. And, you know, it's, if this thing happens to tap into some other faults that are really, really built up in pressure over the past 100, 200 years or so, it can definitely, you know, create earthquakes above 7.0 up here towards Big Pine area as well. Let's see what that. Owens Valley Zone 1872, so that's that same section up here, you know, that still extends to the south, which the earthquakes are pretty much within about, let's see how far they are. Wasn't that a 5-mile scale? Let me double check and make sure. Yeah, we're looking at about 5 miles. So for at least a 2.5 and above, we're getting within about 5 miles of the of a fault system that produced significant sized earthquake back in 1872. So aside from the volcanic field out there, we're coming up on a totally separate fault section, you know, like I said, that can produce a big earthquake. That's kind of a big deal. I have this thought in my head that maybe, well, once it reaches up here, then it's going to keep going up here towards the north, and who knows. Either way, it looks like we're definitely on a northward trend, and it continues. I've been saying that since I've started updating the earthquake activity following the 6.4, the first big earthquake. It's always taken a, seems like a northwestward migration, and now it's you know, continuing up here towards the northwest. Very, very interesting activity. Let's go ahead and pop this back to 7 days, all magnitudes. It's gonna give me that error, but let's see if it'll do it. There's just so many in here, like say 8,300 and something. Hopefully I didn't melt down my computer. I've done this before, but I don't know if it's been with 8,000 something earthquakes on the screen. Well, now it's not letting me do anything, so I'm going to close that out if it'll let me, and then I'll get rid of that. Let me refresh this page here just to get a new view. This, you know, even this map right here, you can kind of see the new renewed, stronger activity up here towards the northwest, almost reaching the that new fault system we were just discussing up near Lone Pine Park, or Lone Pine and Sequoia National Park. That's further to the west, but you guys can see the red broken fault system up there, kind of zipping its way up towards that region. I did want to read the article that the folks at the Coso Volcanic Field claim to I might have to get this thing in line. Transform. Get the screen. Here we go. Okay, hopefully you guys can read that. Not super small, but maybe enhance that a little bit. I'm not 100% awake yet. I only got like 2 hours of sleep after getting off at 7 in the morning. So here we go. Let's read this from the California Volcano Observatory Information Statement, just published today, Wednesday, July 10th, 2019 at 10:28 a.m. Current status is normal, green, aviation code. The seismic activity that started on the evening of July 5th. Check this out. It's funny that they wrote this article, and then all of a sudden we start getting bigger earthquakes within this region. Watch. The seismic activity that started on the evening of July 5th at the southern margin of Coastal Volcanic Field in Inyo County, California, continues at a rate of about 600 M 1.0 or greater earthquakes per day. The activity was triggered by a magnitude M 5.4 earthquake, which itself was an aftershock of the M7.1 earthquake that occurred about an hour earlier on the 5th. The intensity of the activity at COSO is gradually declining. Of the approximate 1,600 earthquakes detected at M 1.0 or above, only 12 have been 3.0 or above, with the largest two registering 4.1. You can add one more to that right now. The current activity at COSO can be considered distant aftershocks or triggered earthquakes. The 7.1 on July 5th occurred. Okay, we already know that. It is common for large earthquakes to cause aftershocks beyond the actual fault rupture. No ground deformation indicate volcanic activity has been detected, and there is no imminent threat of an eruption. The California Volcano Observatory will continue to monitor the situation of any volcanic activity and provide updates as warranted. But hold on a second here. Volcanic let's see. Okay, so here they are stating that this larger earthquakes can trigger earthquakes well away from the epicenter, which is kind of important wording right there, because a lot of this activity seems to be trending towards the northwest. It's not headed towards the west where the San Andreas Fault system is, so I think that may be a good thing. If it was, then I could see the migration heading towards the San Andreas Fault as being a bad thing, and that could be potentially a worst case scenario. But even with it going away from the San Andreas Fault, we're still looking at other fault systems around the area that it's kind of migrating towards. It's just not one or two earthquakes. We're getting some more moderate earthquakes continued further and further away from the epicenter. And it's just not sporadic here, 1 and 2. It's kind of taking a line, kind of taking a trend. A trend of migration up here towards these other faults here, towards Lone Pine and that previous fault system I was just discussing there. So it'd be interesting to watch, folks. I mean, look at the earthquake count, 8,721 earthquakes here, and they're continuing. I mean, every single one of these quakes right here on this graph coming in are earthquakes. Let's see what we got going on up there. Some separate activity, independent earthquake activity occurring up in Mendocino, California. I just noticed that right now. So I need to keep an eye on that as always, because that's kind of up here by me. But so yeah, activity is not dying down in the Southern California region. If anything, is kind of picking up, at least within the past hour or so, with some larger sized quakes, being a 4.1 and a couple 3s there, migrating away from the area of aftershock activity, kind of like towards that new fault system. Not a new fault, but yeah, a new fault with some old activity, some earthquake activity on the old fault that could produce a, what was it, 7.2 back in 1872. The Owens Valley Fault. Yeah. We got Lone Pine right up there too. So anyway, folks, yeah, see, like I said, here the 1872 magnitude 7.4 to 7.9. That was a long time ago. So there's no doubt there's stress being built up on that separate fault, and this activity is within 5 miles. 5 miles of that fault system there. Earthquake activity worldwide, real quick, checking that. Yeah, as I mentioned this morning when I got off work there, just a lot of activity out here in the Pacific Ring of Fire. Although, looking over here on the western part of the Pacific Plate shows red rings. That's indicating that this earthquake activity is older, much older, and probably getting ready to drop off the globe. So now it seems as though we're getting a lot of activity up here around Alaska, and then continued movement down here in Southern California. And of course a couple deep earthquakes there near Fiji and up here near Japan. So you look at these on a scale here, we're kind of seeing a little bit of full plate movement, so to speak. Even though it's not real large, it's still deep, and it's moderate activity, indicating some movement way down into the crust of the Earth. So anyway, folks, I just wanted to do that quick update, show you guys what the volcano folks put out on this Coso volcanic range. I don't think we have to worry about any type of volcanic eruption in that area. What I think we have to worry about is the continued migration of these quakes or aftershocks into separate fault systems that could be built up with pressure over hundreds of years. And these fault systems, where they're headed towards, or at least where it's migrating to, can produce almost an 8.0 earthquake. I mean, a 7.9 magnitude earthquake back in 1872. And I'm sure that pressure has been building up ever since then. I mean, it's I'm going to do a little bit more investigating into this fault system here, see what else I can find out about it, and then include it in an update video a little bit later on. But right now we'll get back to the live stream, folks, and I need to get up and get something to eat. Like I say, I got 2 hours of sleep, and then yeah, I just need some food and some caffeine. So we'll be back a little bit later this afternoon, folks. So sit tight, and we'll have another update later this evening, actually. Pending activity doesn't really ramp up. All right, have a good one. Peace.